Hi, this is Debbie Narver, and welcome to our first lesson in the Introduction to Strategic Planning course. Our first lesson is, what is strategic planning? Most people know that it's long-term planning, but the proper process is less known, which can lead to problems. So, the areas we'll cover in this lesson include, first, what are the problems and causes of failure in strategic planning? And second, we will examine the criteria for effective strategic plans. So let's start by first looking at the problems with strategic planning. First of all, I find that it's often a misunderstood and misused tool. Most people have heard the term. Perhaps they've even participated in strategic planning workshops. But sometimes these strategic planning processes have devolved and morphed into something that isn't really strategic planning. And because it has been done that way in the past, everyone comes to accept these bad habits as the norm. Let's look at a couple of scenarios. In scenario 1, our planning calendar says it's time to do our strategic plan. So let's invite all our stakeholders to a session and get it done. We will ask everyone what they think we should do for the next 3 to 5 years and write it on a flip chart. Once we are done, we will produce a nice report and give everyone a copy. In scenario 2, let's hire a consultant to do our strategic plan. This person can go around asking everyone what they think we should do in the next 3 to 5 years. Then write up a really nice report that includes everyone's ideas and some appealing visuals. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that there's no value to either of these processes, but they certainly present some problems. Let's dig into that a bit. What are some things that can cause strategic plans to fail or not be as effective as they could be? First problem, there's no clear purpose. So how can you get results? In our scenarios, it was something that just needed to be done. Without purpose, it's difficult to get commitment or focus. People may go off in all directions. Second problem, the plan is not linked to vision and goals. So why are we doing it? This may seem obvious, but so often the vision and goals are not considered. The next and very common problem is basing the plan on opinions rather than based on real and objective information. So we end up with a plan that is not realistic or achievable. A solid plan takes research and time, which connects to the next problem. Lack of a structured and systematic approach. Sometimes organizations want to rush through the process and don't want to commit the time and effort. Once again, this usually leads to a poor plan, even if it does have fancy graphics and a glossy cover. Another big problem is when it's not linked to action or implementation. So for example, who will do what? By when? What resources do we need? Without getting these things in the plan, it's not likely to get done. And plans are sometimes not aligned with the current reality, such as resources. So we may have some grand ideas, but we don't have the money or time. If it's not realistic, it won't be achieved. And finally, there may be no follow-up evaluation. The plan just sits on the shelf. A strategic plan should be a living document which we continuously reference and modify as necessary to meet changing conditions. So now that we've looked at the problems and pitfalls, let's talk about the criteria for effective planning. Mainly, it needs to be based on best practices, and it needs to be objective and achievable. Let's start by understanding what we mean by strategy. When a military general or a chess master talk about strategy, they are talking about the approach they use to win. It's not instructions for how they do their job or what others want them to do. It's the same in management. This definition from Essentials of Strategic Management by Hales and Jones describes it as a set of actions that managers take to increase their company's performance relative to rivals. So why is strategic planning important? First of all, consider, how will we achieve our vision and mission? How can we be better than the competition? A strategic plan gives us the how. It creates focus because we can't be all things to everyone. Have you ever tried? It allows us to be proactive to avoid risk and leverage opportunity. It gives us a broad and long-term view. And it guides operational decision-making, budgets, and priorities. Strategic planning is an important part of overall performance management. It is grounded in the vision, mission, and values of an organization, which are generally unchanging. The strategies define how we get there. And as the environment is usually changing around us, strategies need to change to adapt. The strategic plan then guides the operations. Where do we focus our resources? What do we need to achieve? It guides business unit plans and ultimately individual employee plans. When each employee's work is aligned with the strategy, the organization performs well, assuming that the strategy is good. It also helps with day-to-day decision making, as managers and employees can assess which course of action is consistent with our strategy. Now, I've seen all kinds of things listed as strategies. Often they are projects or tasks, not strategies. A strategy is a clear focused direction. Here are some examples. Lowest cost. Differentiation, which is what is unique and valuable to whom. A niche or focus, where we excel in a narrow market or a unique customer segment. Now, these first three are generic strategies defined by expert Dr. Michael Porter. We'll learn more about these in future lectures. But also consider things like partnerships or collaboration, mergers and acquisitions, adding or removing lines of business, automation, early adopters such as first to market. See how each of these is a very clear but big picture direction. We don't get into projects and tasks until we have this big picture. So let's talk about what strategic planning is not. It's not a wish list, a to-do list, an audit, an operational plan, a project plan, or a policy. And while it should seem obvious, I've seen strategic plans that have morphed towards some of these things. Once again, I think it comes back to being clear on objectives. Otherwise, individuals can push it in different directions, either consciously or unconsciously. The primary objective is how to achieve our goals. So keep in mind, strategic plans should be big picture and long-term focused. Usually focus on a 3 to 5 year window, but that can vary depending on how much change is happening within our environment. Be aware of getting bogged down in the detail before having the big picture. So let's summarize what we've learned in this lesson. First of all, strategic plans provide focus. It helps guide decision-making, business unit, and employee performance plans. Strategic plans often fail when they don't use a structured and systematic approach, are not based on real and objective information, or don't link to implementation. Strategies define a set of actions, the how, to achieve superior performance and reach goals. Strategic plans should be big picture and long-term focused, not a to-do list. Thank you for joining me in this brief lesson. In future lessons, we'll delve into things such as plan your plan, setting up for success, gathering and analyzing information, evaluating options, and linking to action. So please contact me to learn more about this and other courses in applied management. Debbie at narvermanagement.ca.